Are you looking to level up your author business?
Are you pounding your head against a wall, wondering what your next step should be? Then join me, Daniel Wilcox.
And me, Sacha Black, as we haul ass each week in a bid to level up.
Level up!
Come along for the ride as we delve deep into the business of writing,
Craft,
entrepreneurship,
and every level of the author journey. This is the Next Level Author Podcast. Hello Achievers, and welcome to episode number 48 of the Next Level Teasers podcast, reference for Bobby in the Facebook group, a podcast where we hold each other to account and track our step-by-step progress as we level up our author businesses. My name is Daniel Wilcox, and here with me every week is...
Sacha Black.
Sacha motherfucking Black. How you doing?
Yeah, baby. Very tired. So tired, in fact. Even my podcast guest last night asked if I was feeling delirious. So yeah, pretty fucking knackered.
Are you going to share the story? Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to.
Oh God, well now I have to, don't I? So last night I was interviewing. And thankfully, okay, I'm not going to tell you who it was because you'll find out when you listen to the episodes. But
Another tease.
It was a lovely friend of mine who has a very, very good sense of humour, which is pretty bloody good, really. And we were essentially talking about the fact that she'd said no to a traditional publisher in favour of going indie. And I wanted to say that meant she had really big balls, which is how I started the conversation. And then I was like, wait, no, fuck the patriarch. You've got a really big and then like... just basically accused her of wearing a very large muff, which obviously then caused hysterics for like both me and her, because I didn't mean to tell my podcast guest she had a large vagina. Anyway, I then did that thing where you pull it together and you continue talking and then you just fucking lose your shit all over again. So I can't wait for people to listen to this episode where I just absolutely lose it. And yeah.
I'm excited.
God.
I think there should be some kind of reward, like a small reward for whoever's the first person to spot the episode and to get in touch with you and be like, it was this one.
Yeah.
But other than telling someone she has a huge muff, how's your week been?
So tiring. I am at the end of a ridiculously long week. So my goal this week was to do like all of the interviews, all of the meetings, all of the podcasts, so that I could clear up the decks for next week, so I could work more or less solely on writing, which is fine. In theory, that's fine. But what's not fine is when Sacha forgets that she also has a load of other work that needs doing, and that she can't necessarily do all of the things plus write plus do all of the other things. And so, no, apparently not.
Not got that figured out yet?
No.
Okay.
So I've driven myself into the ground and I am exhausted. And the worst of it is, it's Friday and I desperately just want to stop. And I can't, because my inbox is still full and I still have like a tiny bit of freelance stuff to do in order to enable me to ensure that I don't have to do it next week. So at some point I'm still going to have to work, I would say, 3/4 of a working day over the weekend, which I really don't want to do, because next week I'm gonna go hammer and tongs at trying to finish side characters. So basically I'm really not moaning here, because I love my life and I asked for this and I love my job. But what I'm trying to say is I'm an idiot when it comes to time blocking and I have not mastered it. But I have learned a lot of lessons, and I've learned one other lesson this week, and that's that not only does admin drain me, like not only do I really dislike admin, and so like I'm loving this new structure where I put admin all on one day, I've noticed a bit of a pattern over the last 3 weeks that the day after I've done admin, I'm almost incapable of writing.
Interesting.
So yeah, it is interesting because I've been getting really cross that I felt like I've wasted the day. And I genuinely think it's one of two things. Either it's task switching because I spent the whole day doing admin and trying to go back to writing is then really hard for me, or it's the drain. So not only is like it a drain on me, it also drains my creative energy pennies as well. So I'm thinking about moving my admin day to Thursday, because then I'd have admin day and then podcast day, and that's fine. I can do that. But what I can't do is do like writing, admin, writing, podcasting day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I might try and do that. I mean, it is going to be slightly difficult because of where the ally meetings fall and the freelance stuff, but if I can get ahead enough, I might be able to do it. So we'll see. I think I might try that next week.
There you go. Long week.
Yeah, yeah, in summary, I had a really long week. How was yours?
I finished the book. So I brought in, it came to like 72,000 words in the end, which I essentially wrote in 3 weeks, to hit a ghost writing client deadline, which isn't their fault. It's totally my fault in terms of time management and stuff, but I made it happen. And the sweet relief of having it finished is upon me now, or would be. So I planned to basically lie in this morning, have a nice rest overnight. I got an early night and then was woken up at 5:30 by the neighbour's howling dog. So, plans never quite go as you want them to. So I feel like I probably look a little bit more tired. But also, if I look a little bit more tired, it's probably just because my new HD camera and lighting setup captures all of the wrinkles on my face and actually shows like what I really look like behind all the blur. Let people have a proper look. For people on YouTube, check that out. Check it out. HD.
And
kind
yes,
of fish lens as well.
His big birthday next month is 30 and not 40, for anyone who was wondering.
Wow. Whoa. Where did that come from?
I just wanted to throw some shade.
Yeah, it's probably revenge just for me calling you out as to your age on WhatsApp this week.
Yeah, fuck you. Let's not talk about
that. But yeah, it's been a good week. I've managed to get the book done. I've taken sort of leaps and bounds in terms of sort of planning my next few upcoming projects. I got, again, another tease. I got some stuff that I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about yet, but some quite exciting stuff happened this week that the minute I find out if I can talk about it, I will let people know. Sacha.
Is this our thing?
No.
Oh.
This is the other thing that's similar to the thing that you did that you couldn't talk about at one point.
Oh.
I love talking in code to you just to see if you get any reference of it. I'll fill you in after the show, know, but yeah. So there's a thing, which is really, really cool. But I don't know if I can speak about it yet. And when I can, I will. What else has been going on? Pretty much just balls to the wall in terms of just getting the book done. And today is the first day I can kind of like just breathe and catch up on stuff that I've let fall to the wayside. And I've used this morning to write 3,500 words of a new book that I'm working on.
I hate you so much right now. Like, literally so hate you.
I'm really enjoying it. I think that's the thing. Like, it's a book that I'm excited to get to. It was it's been a while since I've just been like, I really want to get to the desk and just write this thing. But it's a book that I know I can write. It's a book that I get to use my voice in. Like, I know that I can just blurt this stuff out because it's relatively easy. So yeah, I'm hoping to, my plan is to have the first draft written by next Friday, because I also don't think it's going to be a huge book. I think it's going to be probably about 30,000 words.
Such a wanker. That does not make this situation any better. I'm just going to casually smash out 30k in a week.
But I also want it done because it's a gap between 2 ghostwriting deadlines. So I don't have a whole lot of time to.
Well done. Gold medal. I'm not jealous or
Welcome
bitter.
to the Next Level Author podcast, where we support each other on our author journey. Level up.
You, sir, can fuck off. You know I support you. I'm very proud. And I always tell you how impressed I am with you.
I don't know. I see a counter just specifically for this podcast. What's next? What else do we talk about in the beginning? What's one thing you've enjoyed this week?
My friend.
Me. Woohoo! So
Katie,
my thing this week.
Katie Forrest sent me some amazing candle melts, right? and I have been melting them this week. And one of my favorite smells is oud. I don't know if you know what oud is. It's like a Middle Eastern sort of like frankincense spice. It's a very deep smell. All my wow, my chair is making a lot of noise. All my perfumes, like I sometimes wear really expensive perfume and like Creed, and it has oud in it, and like I'm like a fucking dog in heat. I will dry hump you if you wear oud perfume. And look, I'm really tired and I just can't control how I'm describing stuff.
How do you spell oud?
I'm not going to dry hump anybody. But anyway.
How do you spell it?
O-U-D.
Okay, that's better. Okay.
Why? What?
Because I heard it as O-O-D, and if you turn oud upside down, it spells poo. So, as you were.
Okay. Anyway, one of the smells that she sent was oud and rose is one of my favorite smells alongside lavender. And so I'm just having a field day with my office smelling like fucking like just Middle Eastern like summers and nights and wine and sex. So there's that.
Isn't that is it Gwyneth Paltrow candle?
Gwyneth Paltrow candle?
Yeah, have you not seen this one? Is it Gwyneth Paltrow? I feel like it's Gwyneth Paltrow, and I am going to have to Google this because Gwyneth.
Speaking of which, my candle just died, so here's me lighting another one. So
yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow's got a candle that smells of her vagina.
Wait, what?
You can buy a candle that smells of Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina. That's a real thing. Link in the show notes, people.
That is disgusting. What? Yeah. Why would you do that? Ew.
Interesting fact. Someone set their house on fire with it.
With Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina smell.
Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina smell. So, yeah, swiftly moving on. Candles. That's... that's a cool thing to enjoy. Mine, I've got two things. Number one, I've referenced already, which is new webcam, new lighting, because I'm planning on doing like some film stuff like at some point soon. So it's nice to have like a better setup than I did have. And number two, I very much, I listened to your interview with Joanna Penn on the Rebel Author podcast this week, and I enjoyed that. Mostly because Joanna is awesome and she always has really, really good advice, but also because it's been a while since I've listened to the Rebel Author podcast, not for any particular reason other than time.
Busy.
I'm just saying before you say anything. But one thing I've forgotten is just how British you are when you go into your professional mode.
I know.
Because you don't get that on here.
I know.
Get Sacha Black on here.
I know. I can't help it. Wait till you hear the audiobook though.
Oh,
because
I'm curious
the audiobook is like Sacha British on fucking steroids. Like literally. I can't help it though, because when I used to do the voiceovers, like the minute I get in the recording studio, the voice comes back. And you know but that's what I was trained for. So that's just what happens. I can't.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. Like it's a thing I've enjoyed.
Oh yeah. Why am I justifying myself? Fuck you. I don't need to justify myself.
Swiftly moving on. Weekly
Go on.
It's fine. No, go on. You've got a thing to say.
I'm just really tired, and I'm not coping this week.
Weekly confessional. Wow, Sacha, you had a list of things to do.
And I am slightly scared because I don't actually know if I did it all. Okay, so Dan will finish the book and have a discussion with Sacha about the thing.
Yeah, we did.
Yes,
I did.
Sacha will edit her Apple blurb. I did that. Do an Apple review, reach out. Right. So I did do that. And I discovered that you have to have, I think, brought the book on Apple. I don't know. It was like a weird thing. So I managed to get one review on Apple, which is better than no reviews, but I haven't, I'm going to have to do a more like tactical strategic review grab thing for that. So it didn't, like I did it, but it wasn't very successful. So I'll have to do that again. 500 words of a short story. We are not going to talk about what happened with that. I did do it. I sent Dan the evidence. It was not a good day. Let's just end that there.
Moving swiftly along.
Start her side characters launch planning. I have done that. That is on my wall. I did a ton of post-its and I felt a lot better after just writing stuff down. So that was really good. And have a conversation with Dan about the thing. Oh, thank fuck. I actually did all of the things.
Smashed it. Killed it dead. Awesome. Just a note on our anniversary celebration, episode number 52. Me and you still need to actually sit down and talk about what we're doing in that episode, but people have been putting some cool ideas on the Facebook page. So be sure that if you've got any ideas or anything you want to see from us, to go onto our Facebook group, Next Level Authors, and just get those ideas down.
I still really think we should do a live episode.
I think we should.
Yeah. I think we should do a live and like allow patrons to come in as well.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Sounds dangerous. Sounds fun.
It does sound dangerous. I also think we both should be drinking, but that's another whole other conversation.
I never stop. Speaking of Patreon, segue, we have 2 new patrons this week. We have Cassie M. Newell and Juliet Fisher. So welcome to the tribe. I see you're already getting involved in answering questions, putting some stuff out on the Patreon group. We have our next Patreon live Q&A on Monday, the 8th of March. So get involved in that. And yeah, you get early access to our episodes and a bit of behind the scenes bant. So yeah, welcome to the group, and we love having you already.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much, guys.
Level ups. Are you on this, or do you want? I've got one in front of me I can read out.
You can do it.
Sweet. Level up this week comes from Francesca, who has 4 things. So it's not just a level up, it's level ups. Number 1, she won a writing contest and has a meeting with a publisher about it, which is awesome. Progressed with my editing and beta readers of her novel. Nearly finished the first draft of a secret freelancing project. Hey, more teasing. Wow, we really do this a lot on this show.
I know.
Or is this a new thing? I feel like we used to, but we do now. And she has new cover art for her novel soon to be in progress. So loads going on there. Well done, Francesca. Cool. Question from last week and comments. The question was, how do you deal with all of your ideas? Over to you, Sacha.
Yeah, so Yanni said, all my ideas seem to link to the series I'm working on, so it makes it very easy to keep track of them. I just need to scribble them down or get it down on my phone when the idea smacks me in the face at 2 a.m. I envy those that have so many wonderful ideas they want to work on. Excuse me, my voice is tired this week. Bobby Ann Atwood said, as for how I deal with ideas, I'm firmly on Sacha's side with if I don't write it down, I'll forget it. So I keep mini memo pads in my desk, my car and my bag. Ida says, if I have an idea, I'll write it down on a piece of paper, then write it on a Google Doc. I'll also write myself an email or get my phone and write it on a Google Doc. If I need a new idea for a new book or scene or whatever, I just go back to my emails. Luke says, lots and lots of notes for me, usually in the Apple Notes app. And then we had a couple of other comments, one from Laura, one from Holly, and Holly, who said she was howling with laughter at the Easter egg. So thank you, everybody. I think there were some other ones which came in after I had already pulled these comments. So thank you very much to everybody who has commented.
And listened to 3 minutes worth of Easter eggs.
Last week's Easter egg was spectacular, even if I say so myself.
There you go. Question of the week. Are you ready?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll wait.
I'm ready.
Okay. Question is simple. Why non-fiction?
Ooh. Oh. Ah. Well, that is an excellent question. I have about 5 answers for this, obviously. Okay, so the most real answer I can give you is that it was a total accident. I don't know if I've talked about it on this podcast or if I talked about it on the other podcast, but when I started writing, I have always been obsessed with craft, as everybody knows, and I was intentionally trying to learn and develop my craft. And because I'm senile, as I mention a lot, I needed a place to write.
Very true, as evidenced this week in a lot of our conversations.
Honestly, you will, the more this goes on, the more you'll see that if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. Anyway, and so in order to consolidate the learning, I had to write stuff down. So I was like, well, where can I write down all the lessons? I had nowhere to write down the stuff that I was learning. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to blog it. With no conscious thought as to the fact that other people might find that useful. And then a couple of my posts I think I had like 100,000 hits in like a month or like 6 weeks or something, which was a shitload given that I was just some girl writing up stuff. And I was like, 100,000 hits, that's loads. I mean, it's not comparatively when you look at like
It is.
the traffic that people get now. But anyway, back then, like 7 or 8 years ago, it was a lot of traffic.
Still is.
And so I was like, oh, there's a market here. So I went a bit deeper down the rabbit hole and continued to research villains and stuff. And then I just was like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to slap it together in a book because clearly there's a market for this. I could find only one other book on villains on Amazon at the time. So that's what I did. And I pulled it all together and I just put it up. And I realized that I write nonfiction very differently to most people, in that I write it how I speak. Everybody says they can hear me when they read my books. And I suppose because I like to put humor in. And so in terms of why I continue to write it, that has definitely evolved. So I continue to write it because I am still learning. I will always learn. And the most effective, efficient way for me to consolidate everything that I am learning is to write it. And if I'm going to write it down, I might as well write it in a book. Now, I can't lie. My nonfiction makes a lot of fucking money. And so that is obviously a driver. I think there is a bit of blurring these days between the now I'm doing this full time, the need for income, and therefore the need to write the nonfiction, and the why of me, which is me loving craft and loving learning. And so I don't really like that line blurring. And so maybe the next nonfiction book I write needs to be a topic that I really want to write about rather than, something that I know is going to sell or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, so I write it because I'm learning. I write it because it also helps other people. I write it because it makes money. And I think more than anything, it is the voice that I like writing the most, which is really weird. And I think that is just because I haven't given myself the space in fiction to embody my most voice self, if that makes sense. So like, because I'm writing YA and I had tried to write cleaner YA than non-clean, I have felt so restricted. Wow, this is like revelations, I think. Wow. Yeah, I feel restricted. And I think that's a problem with my young adult stuff because I was trying to write in a tone that I thought I was supposed to write in. And so my why for the nonfiction is that I get to swear and I get to be rude and make terrible jokes and be sarcastic. And it's a huge expression of me. Like, yes, I amp it up. Like I'm not, but that's the point of the book, isn't it? You put yourself on steroids, just like I do on the podcast. I'm much calmer in real life. Well, depends how much caffeine I've had. But it is, isn't it? It's like an expression of yourself. And I think because it is so close to my real voice, it's the most natural expression of me. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel really uncomfortable because I feel like fiction is supposed to be the expression of yourself, isn't it? Isn't it?
Is it? Question the premise.
I don't know. I feel unhinged. I feel untethered. I feel like somebody's just
This was
gouged.
not my intention with this question.
No, I feel like somebody just cut me open and now I'm having to look at my insides and I'm not really sure if there's the things there that I thought was there.
It makes sense though, because I mean, if you went into nonfiction with this whole, oblivious, naive, I'm just going to do it for me, and then you've, built an audience around that. It's that whole thing that I tell a lot of people about how like you put yourself out there and the right people will find you. So you've been enabled with nonfiction to be yourself. Whereas with fiction, just generally it is a tougher nut to crack because you do have a lot more in the way of voice and genre expectations and things telling you which way to go. And obviously with, like you say, your YA books, you played it down in the beginning because I guess that's what you imagined you wanted to write would
I was
sell.
supposed to do. Yeah.
Whereas the stuff that you're working on at the minute, which I've seen like snippets of, is much voicier because it seems to be a bit more within you and the voice that you have and the style that you have.
And you know the interesting thing?
All
Last
of
night,
this.
well, thank you. Last night, I text my critique partner and I was like, I'm having thoughts.
Stop it. Shut them down.
Well, and I was like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be a fantasy writer, which is a really fucking big thought to think. Now, I will continue to write fantasy because I have lots of fantasy book ideas and I really want to write The Murdering Magicians. But I have a feeling I'm supposed to be writing contemporary YA. And I don't really know how I feel about that. But the minute, you know, when you have a thought and it's unnerving because it is, as soon as you have that thought, you absolutely know without any doubt and 100% certainty that it's correct because you have like relief, like just from accepting something. And I'm getting goosebumps because like it was such a huge revelation. And basically, I'm really drawn to contemporary young adult books, like reading them. And I'm like, why am I not picking up naturally the young adult fantasy? And it's not that I don't want to write fantasy. I think I do. I actually think I want to write adult fantasy and young adult contemporary.
Yeah.
And here endeth.
It does sound like my return to horror though, because I was always, chipping away at horror bits and then went on sort of like the divergence where I collaborated with Michael. I was looking at like other things that I was writing. I was looking at series and then returning back to sort of like I'm working on a short horror novella at the minute, and just everything about writing it just feels fun and just feels natural and just feels good. Everything else like I could write but felt more of an effort and not quite authentic to me. There just seems to be like a resonance with the writing where you really connect with it and follow that path. And I think that's like, it comes back to sort of, are you going to write to market and, pursue trends and things or whatever. And it's just, I've done a bit of that and I don't want to do that anymore. But it's when writing feels like home that, that it's,
yes, like when I read those, the reason I was going to those books is because they feel like home, and that's what's terrifying to me. And it is terrifying because none of my current book ideas, with the exception of The Scent of Death, which is contemporary with just a touch of fantasy, none of my ideas are contemporary. So I kind of had to have a conversation with the universe to say, look, I'm open. I am all open to contemporary ideas because I think this is what I should be doing: adult fantasy and contemporary young adult. I don't know. Anyway, why do you write nonfiction?
You just need to grow a bigger vagina. Is
it because I bullied you into it? I'm just going to ignore that. Is it because I bullied you into writing nonfiction?
Yeah, I think so. So no, I think it's not so much that you bullied me into it. I think it's that you changed
I did.
Well, you did, but it also changed my perception of what I believe nonfiction was. Because the nonfiction books I read were always from sort of multi-million best-selling people, awards, achievements, records. Like they were the creme de la creme of, people and what they can achieve. So listening to lessons from people like Stephen Pressfield, from Tim Ferriss, from Cal Newport, I had this impression that nonfiction was once you've achieved a certain level of status, then you can impart that lesson. But what I've learned over the last sort of year is that no matter what stage you're at in your journey, you have a voice that will resonate with people. Because even if you've never published a book in your life and your first book is Here's How to Write a Book, it's you stumbling upon your lessons and sharing what you've learned, which to someone who hasn't yet started writing a book could be 1,000 times more valuable than someone who's been writing for 20 years and is telling you how to write a book, but they're forgetting the last 20 years of their own journey, and they just haven't got that connection with the audience they're trying to reach anymore. So with because obviously I'm still relatively early in my nonfiction journey. I've got collaboration for authors. I've got my productivity book, which I'm working on. I've got my book that I started today, which is, I'm just going to say this one just to hold myself accountable, is the self-publishing blueprint, which is basically all the gears and cogs to get your book from idea to market. And already I am, like I say, my whole perception has changed on what I believe those to be, because I am in no way unique in that. Wait, what am I trying to say? I've totally lost my tangent. I am in no way unique in the fact that, like, I'm not the only person who's ever self-published a book. So if you come to me, you're not going to get anything really new in terms of, how things work. But in terms of my voice, in terms of my perspective, in terms of, certain tidbits in the way that I work, is going to be infinitely different to every other person that would write an identical book. Similarly with fiction, I don't believe that anyone can steal an idea, because everyone has their own interpretation of what that idea is. So I'm kind of leaning a bit more into nonfiction. Obviously, I've amped up things like author services. I'm now book coaching and giving back. And in giving back, that's helping me cement a lot of my own process when it comes to publishing fiction. And I just think that I've learned the value and the power of sharing what you're learning along the way. And whenever I get to a point in which I'm trying to be an expert, quote, is when I start to slow down and stumble. And I think that's the reason why the productivity book has taken as long as it has so far, is because I keep looking at that book and thinking, oh, this has to be up there with the creme de la creme, because there are people that have produced incredible productivity books. And what I need to remember is that I'm writing my perspective of what productivity is and imparting those lessons. And hopefully people will pick up stuff along the way. Like I don't think it can be questioned that I am a fairly productive guy, so I do have lessons to impart. But it's like, the reason I've started writing it is primarily to cement my own process and to understand my own thinking, to stretch my voice, stretch my words. It is another income stream, and what I did learn with collaboration for authors is, even though it's a very niche book, so it hasn't sold quite as well as I'd like, the profit margins are a lot bigger with nonfiction and sort of a bit more steady. And there was a final point I wanted to put onto that. Yeah, I'll leave it at those. Income, sharing knowledge, stretching voice. And I think it's good as well. Like, I think we mentioned on this podcast, I was listening to old episodes of the Story Studio that I did with Luke. And on one of those episodes, I said that I want to help authors as one of my goals. And I don't really want to create and write in a vacuum. And I like the idea of helping people reach the realizations that I reached early on, in terms of realizing that there can be a career in this, that you can put things forward. And, whatever you want to do with your book, whether it's just to hold it in your hand, or whether you want to try and hit the top of the bestseller chart, it is a step that could enable people to do that and have impact. So that's kind of, a roundup of all my reasons. But it is also fun. I'm finding it really, really fun just to put my voice into it, just to play with it a little bit, make it a bit quirky, a bit humorous, and just spread the lessons from there. But it has been a whole evolution, because I was really, like, I was against nonfiction in every sense of the word. Not in terms of like the value that it gave me. Like, I read nonfiction books, I have respect for people who write nonfiction, but for me, I saw myself as a fiction writer, and I saw nonfiction as a block, like an obstacle to me, a distraction to me focusing on fiction and trying to turn that into what I wanted to turn it into. And what I've learned is that the nonfiction, because of my experience in my day job, in sort of corporate world and stuff, a lot of the nonfiction stuff does come fairly naturally, in terms of like looking at audience and different processes in terms of like making the book. And then what that does is it enables me then to keep treating fiction like a hobby, which makes it feel a lot more natural for me, because I don't want fiction to have to be a source of, you have to do this. Like, my fiction, the whole point of writing fiction is to enjoy and just to share that part of me.
Yeah. I feel exactly the same about my fiction. I don't want it. I mean,
if it does, I'll be happy. But
that's exactly what I was going to say. I would love it to pay all my bills, but I don't want it to have to pay my bills, because then it changes your relationship with it. It changes how you feel about it, and it becomes a blocker in my brain, and my creativity shuts down. Like the creativity has to be free and uncaged by requirement for bill paying.
Yeah. And what I find interesting as well is when you speak to, so if you're just writing fiction, and I don't say that in any derogatory way, if you're simply writing fiction, and you've got other friends that write fiction, you'll share story ideas, you'll share sort of like a few craft tips here and there. What I found with speaking more with non-fiction authors, and like obviously talking to you backwards and forward, there's a bit more of a global conversation about like the inner workings of an author career, as opposed to focusing on the story itself. So for me, it's been really beneficial just to look at how other people are operating their business and looking at like the different things they're looking at in terms of informing how I'm running my business. And yeah, it's very, very useful. But what would you say to anyone who has never considered nonfiction, or is maybe on the cusp of considering nonfiction but isn't sure?
Do it. That is it. Get on with it. Why haven't you done it already? Do it, because it's no, honestly, it's liberating. It's fun. It will bring you more income. And I suppose the other thing is, don't underestimate the amount of structural changes you may or may not have. Getting the structure of nonfiction right is just the hardest part for me personally. But
you. Okay, so how are we leveling up our business this week?
Oh yeah, shit.
I'm just going to do a montage of those moments. Just like a 5-minute clip of, oh shit, oh man, oh yeah, every week. From both of us. I'm not singling you out.
Well, I am going to be working very hard on side characters next week. I don't want to quantify it. I do want to finish the book, but the first draft, but I'm not going to say that because I thought I'd get it done this week and I didn't. So, I'm working on side characters, and yes, tough shit, it is going to be that vague. And I will I will check and update my bio pages and my speaking pages. And I'm going to work on launch planning, and that can be either young adult or the nonfiction. I just want to do some more research and stuff, like more so that when I say launch planning, I'm either going to be like doing more thinking, more research, or more writing down of things that I'm going to do. Like more, there's a few, that's it, end of full stop.
Can you commit to one section of side characters? I want a smart goal there.
But I'm not going to, but I will commit to recording one chapter of audiobook.
Okay. I am going to write 3 sections of the self-publishing blueprint. I'm going to draft a list of tasks to give, because I'm going to start to look for a virtual assistant.
I've got one for you. Never mind, carry on.
I don't get to set my own anymore. I'm going to update my board so I can prioritize the current tasks I've got on my list. And I'm going to put in a preliminary plan for my second quarter. What's your thing for me?
What do you mean?
You said I've got one for you.
Oh, no, I meant VA. Never mind.
Oh, okay, cool. I thought you meant like a thing to have about my business. Audience question of the week. I'm going to change it slightly to, have you considered writing non-fiction? Why?
Lovely.
There we go. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hungry for more?
If you enjoyed this podcast, you can hear more of my angelic accent and Dan's dulcet tones on our other podcasts.
For more of me, check out the Great Writer Share podcast.
For more of me, listen to the Rebel Author podcast. We'll be back next week holding each other to account as Dan
and Sacha
become
Next Level
authors.
Yeah.
You can start.
Thank you, Sacha. Let me just get the notes.
Oh, post.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Nothing exciting. Damn it. Oh my god, I so wish you could, that we had smell-o-vision with the internet, because fuck me, does my room smell amazing. What were you doing again?
Nothing, I did nothing. Hello, Achievers, and welcome to episode number 48 of the Next Level. Wow. Wow, I had a whole thing set up, and you just screwed it. Hello, Achievers, and welcome to episode number
58.
My name is Daniel Wilcox, I think, and here with me every week, I think, is...
Sacha Black. Have you got the right mic on?
Probably not. That's going to be upsetting. Let's switch that over. No, of course I haven't. It's on the wrong one. I'm going to record that whole thing again.
There we are. There you are. Listen, you are not allowed to have this as an Easter egg, because she watches what I do and she'll kill me. I mean it. You're not allowed.
You just cemented this as the Easter egg.
You can't.
This is the Easter
egg. That would end our friendship.
I know. But it's been a while since I feel like I've really tested the barriers, the boundaries that we have set.
Oh no, that would be...
I don't think there are any.
We have boundaries. We have boundaries.
I am...
Feet are out of the boundary. For a start. You hate feet.
Yeah, so don't send Sacha a picture of you weighing yourself if it's got feet on scales.